So today we are going to learn a little bit. We have with us Melinda Bravo is with us, Justice and Advocacy Group. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. So we're going to learn about your. Now, I tell people all the time I don't give legal advice on Ron Siegel Radio.
No.
As a paralegal, do you give legal advice?
No, we cannot give legal advice.
No legal advice.
Nope.
So, can you suggest questions that somebody might ask an attorney? That's what I do.
Well, I give people information, but I don't give any kind of legal advice. Just kind of, point people in the right direction. But yeah, I cannot give legal advice.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at is we don't give legal advice, but because of experience, we may have an idea of the advice you need, and some people don't even know the questions to ask.
Yes.
So if we provide you with some question that you may need to talk to an attorney about, well, then you get the legal advice from the attorney now that you know what question to ask.
Yes.
So explain to me what a paralegal really does.
So what a paralegal does is we actually assist attorneys. Like in the law firm world, we assist attorneys and we draft documents. We meet with clients and so forth. For my business, what I do is I help people just in general in the community basically get like divorces, help them do the fill out the paperwork, give them some information. I do like estate plans, so I can actually draft the living trust. So I help with probate matters so that people don't have to necessarily go to an attorney. And it's just basically I provide like a service that is a lot less expensive than an attorney. So I built a business off of that because I used to work for attorneys full time for years. I've been a paralegal for over 20 years now.
Wow.
And
yeah. Started at 9.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, what I would notice is that people would come in with real problems, like they needed a divorce or they needed an estate plan or they were having real issues, but they just couldn't afford an attorney. And so
most of us can't afford an attorney.
I mean, let's be real. I mean, it's real. It's facts. Since most attorneys charge anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 for a retainer, and who kind of has that laying around? Not a lot of people do. So that's where this business came into effect. I've been in business since 2015. And I've helped so many people just, get divorces, child support, visitation, estate plans, basically what their needs are. So I've been very fortunate to be able to help people that couldn't really get justice anywhere else, or that's the name, Justice and Advocacy. Okay. So I wasn't able to do that. So I'm so happy and so blessed that I'm able to help so many people that otherwise couldn't afford it.
And where do you work out of? Where's the geography that you're helping people out?
My business is in Rancho Cucamonga.
Okay.
So I help people in the Empire mostly, but I have helped people in LA County and Orange County as well. All the way down to San Diego County, to be honest with you.
Now it's probably easier than when you got started.
Oh, a lot easier because
they can't come see you. It's Zoom and no big deal.
Yes. After COVID, actually, surprisingly, my business actually boomed a little. It's because people were doing.
People were getting divorced after COVID because they didn't want to be together anymore.
Actually, surprisingly, during COVID, we had a lot of nurses and firemen that were getting divorces.
Really? Okay.
Yes, it was really surprisingly that it boomed a lot in the nursing industry, even more so.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's an interesting one.
It wasn't. Yeah. I thought it was really interesting too. I had a bunch of, I think I had 10 within like a couple of weeks.
That's kind of interesting when you think about it, because, we hear so much about the people that got divorced because they were home together more than they ever were. They were,
oh yeah.
People were, instead of going to work and being apart for 8 or 9 or 10 hours a day, now they're together. But
yep.
The firefighters and the nurses, they were still going out and doing their work. So that wasn't the case for them.
No, but I was surprised at that fact too. And they were just saying like, I'm just done. I can't do this anymore. And I realized now after this, like, I'm done. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. So when somebody works with you as a paralegal, are they working off a retainer or is it a flat rate?
It's a flat rate. Yeah.
So you look at what you have to do for them, and to get X, you pay a Y.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're not paying a retainer. You know exactly what you're paying for to get like the petition done. And then I also help them like serve it and so forth. And then, once we get it back, then I'll file the proof of service for them. And then the person, the other party either responds or doesn't respond. And then I can help get a default judgment or a judgment done. So you can do everything.
You're doing a lot.
Yeah, I can do everything from beginning to end, as long as they agree to. And it's always so much more like, this is one bit of information, like I would love for people to know and understand, is that if you guys can be amicable, a divorce can be really inexpensive. A paralegal can do it from the very beginning to the end as long as you guys are amicable. Um, and it's a lot less expensive. And
So what would be the benefit of using a paralegal versus, going just through a mediator or there's the other one of the divorce, which my sometimes there hits in
like an arbitration or
arbitration or
Okay.
mediation or something along those lines.
It's just less expensive because you're basically going with me to get the petition done, to get all the documents drafted. A lot of people come to me already ready to go. Like they know, like they don't have a lot of assets, they don't have house, or even if they have a house, they already know they're going to pay half and half from the equity of the house, right? One's going to
So
buy
not to
each other
cause
out.
problems with
Yeah.
attorneys,
No,
but they don't have
I don't want to either.
but they don't have any, but because there's some really, really good attorneys out there that just want to help people.
There are.
And there's some attorneys that just want to grind people.
Yes.
So, when you're coming to you and saying, okay, we already know here's our schedule of assets and liabilities, and this is who's going to get what or how we're going to split it. There's no one saying, well, did you think about fighting over this? To increase the billable hours. That's not your world.
No, that's not my world. My world is they already pretty much know what they want to do, and it's really the law is written that everything is split 50-50, especially in California. It's 50-50 debt. Whatever debt is 50-50. Whatever equity or assets, it's 50-50. So reality, there's not a lot to fight for if you guys understand that.
Right.
So
if you're not trying to be vindictive.
Exactly.
And you're really just looking to dissolve the union. Yeah. And I say this all the time. So not that I know anything about divorce other than what the divorce attorneys I've talked to. I'm 36 years into a life sentence. So it's just kind of the way it is. Right. But there was some reason that you got married in the first place. Right. Probably because you got along with each other.
You did.
So why do you have to hate each other going out the door?
Yes.
Right?
And usually where the fight comes in is is property, because they feel for some reason one deserves more than the other. And then the other fight is usually with the children. So you can always do like 50-50 custody. I mean, there's so many ways that you can go around it and slice it. One gets 1 week off, 1 week of weekends. I mean, and then I kind of tell them, like, these are some of the options that people have done. Like,
we're going to talk more about that when we come back. Continue our conversation this morning. We are chatting with Melinda Bravo, Justice and Advocacy Group. So before the break, we started talking about the paralegal, not the attorney. Not that we have anything against attorneys, but some of them are not as scrupulous as others. So just throw that. That's my opinion, and I'm right. But
I'm like,
what's that?
I gotta say just a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll get myself in trouble.
we know that it doesn't matter what industry. There's really good people and really not so good people in every industry.
Yes.
So the idea here is we're more than happy to put you in touch with some really, really good people that do serve the public. And I've had realtors come in here that probably talk as many people out of buying or selling a house as try and work with them to buy a sell house, because it's not the right solution for them. And we see that in divorce, because you've got the consensual divorces and you've got the adversarial divorces, mediation, arbitration, and today we're learning about the paralegal. So we've talked before on the broadcast, Melinda, about how you can actually go to court yourself.
Yes.
And the courts really like it if you've got a professional that does the paperwork, so they're done right.
Yes.
And that's kind of where you come in, right?
Yes. So I've done that a lot for people, even when they do like a request for order to go to court, whether there's like a child custody or whatever visitation issue. And I've been actually really happy that I've had judges like, this paperwork looks great. Like, I know exactly what you're looking for, blah, blah, blah. And then they end up signing with my client, which is nice. But I have 20 years over experience. So that's why I'm able to do like these declarations, exhibits that maybe the normal person doesn't know are important in order for you to win your case.
Sure.
So when you go to an experienced paralegal, and there's a lot of legal doc prep places out there, don't get me wrong. And some of them are really good. But you really have to go to somebody who knows what they're doing and that they can help you.
My analogy is always that, I need double knee replacement.
Okay.
I could go online and find out how to do that.
Mhm.
Probably not going to have a good outcome,
Right? I don't think so.
right?
Right?
But and the same thing is, hire a professional to do what a professional does.
Exactly.
Now I'm going to throw a question out here.
Uh-oh.
I think, and you'll have to tell me if I'm out of line. Some people do tell me that.
Okay.
So in a lot of different industries, you've got the figurehead, and then
Mhm.
you've got somebody that really does the work.
Okay. I know where you're going with this.
The attorney goes in there and they have the conversation and they've got the degrees and all that stuff. Is it the paralegal, the legal secretary, and I don't even know what the difference is, that
Okay.
really does the work?
Yes.
Okay.
So in reality, yes. So in most,
Is there a difference between a paralegal and a legal secretary?
oh yeah, a legal
Okay.
secretary basically like answer phones, does calendaring,
Okay.
files the paperwork, where the paralegal drafts everything. And
Oh, okay.
actually, I mean, granted, I'll file paperwork too and things like that, but that's typically the big
That's where
difference.
the difference is.
Yeah. So we usually have like, we usually have an education also. Legal secretary can as well, but you really need like I have an ABA certified certificate from UCLA School of Law Extension Program. So
We
and
won't
then
hold that against you, being that I'm a Trojan fan.
we're gonna fight now. That's it.
I have a ritual on
I'm a
Ron Siegel
Bruin.
Radio that we for every time we have a Bruin coming here. Gotta have it for whenever we have Bruins come in here. I do that just so that you'll feel at home. Just throw that out.
I don't know about that one.
Okay.
Time to take a break.
That was Melinda Bravo.
I know I'm done now because I'm from UCLA. But
Josh,
no, like
Josh, we don't have to mute her mic in just because of that.
Okay, I know, right? He's like, he turned my mic off. I'm like, is this thing on?
Yeah, exactly. Hello.
No, so basically, like, paralegals usually have like I have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. I have about a year of law school under my belt. So we typically have maybe a little bit more education. We have a little more experience in that area. So we can draft motions. I mean, I pretty much do everything an attorney does. I can't give legal advice, and I can't represent somebody in court, and I can't sign anything. But pretty much everything else we do. We draft motions and prepare exhibits and trial preparation. We do it all.
Wow, even trial preparation.
Oh yeah, I do all the exhibits, the trial briefs, everything.
Before the break, we were talking about the hypothetical individual or hypothetical couple.
Okay.
That got along well.
Mm-hmm.
Figured there was a reason they got married for some reason or another.
They liked each other.
They might have liked each other or something.
At some point, they did.
And now they've decided that they don't like each other or they can't live together anymore.
Okay.
And they are wanting to get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Can both parties retain you together, or does each do theirs separately?
Yes, actually, that happens a lot. I have couples come in and say, look, we just can't get along anymore. We don't want to be together. Can you help us? I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's do this. And they tell me both what they want. And then we kind of just go from there.
Okay. So it's we're able to get both people in there and do the whole 9 yards.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, but you made a comment before that I want to dig into a little bit.
Okay.
So the child custody issues.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, and because I'm a consumer advocate and, I've loved kids, even my own sometimes.
It's okay.
they don't listen.
Real parents understand that comment.
Exactly. So you can actually, what is it? You fill out the paperwork for the child custody and then they go themselves to court?
Yes.
Or are you with them when they go to court?
No, they go by themselves to court. So I tell people, if you're comfortable going to court on your own, let's do this. If you're not comfortable, I can still do what's called a hybrid model. Okay. And so let's say you go to a typical attorney and he charges $5,000 to $10,000 retainer. The whole case costs about $40,000 to $50,000, right?
Wow.
You come to me, I can draft everything, get you all prepared up to that point where you go to court. And then an attorney, I can refer it to one of the attorneys that I've been working with for years. I've got a slew of them. I've been doing this for 20 years. So I can refer it out to an attorney. They'll do a limited scope, represent you at that hearing because you don't feel comfortable. And then they could take it from there. And now a case that would have cost you $40,000, $50,000 would probably cost you $5,000 to $10,000 or $15,000. So, so there's a way of doing this so it's a lot less expensive. You still get everything you want out of it, but it's a lot less expensive.
Okay, so saving a little bit of money.
Yes.
I like that idea.
Right.
And you know something, you're gonna probably get to the same end result anyway.
You do.
And as I've shared many times, not that I'm an attorney and not that I'm giving legal advice, but you're gonna get a better outcome if you and your partner decide what you want.
Yes.
The court has rules that they have to follow, but if you're not breaking the rules, you can do whatever you want, right? The judge is not going to. The judge has a what they call a minimum standards that they have to follow. But as long as you're not violating a law and you say, well, I want 75-25 custody, the judge isn't going to say no unless there's some again violation. So again, not giving you legal advice, just sharing what I've been told from other people. You need to get your own legal advice. Continue our conversation this morning. Melinda Bravo is with us, Justice and Advocacy Group. So Melinda, I wanted to chat with you because we don't have a huge amount of time left.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about trusts, probates, how you can help in those arenas.
So I actually can help draft a whole estate plan, which includes like the living trust, the power of a will, balance healthcare directives, and so forth, general power of attorney. So I actually can offer you a complete estate plan. And why trust is so important, that's probably where you're going with that, right? Is because you do not want to go to probate court. I actually do probate as well, and that is a nightmare. So just so people understand, probate court is basically what happens when you don't have a trust. And so in order for you to do a trust, you actually have to fund it by putting those trust deeds, and your house goes into the trust.
So your assets go in there.
You do. They
House,
do.
bank accounts, asset, stock accounts.
Yes.
Does insurance go in there?
It can, but I just put it as like, this is what I have, basically. So it's beneficial because God forbid you pass away. Then
it's going to happen to all of us sometime.
Unfortunately, yes.
Even George Burns had to, he was trying to find another way out, but he didn't.
Right. So what happens when you pass away is then your house, which is your biggest asset usually anyways, it goes straight to your kids or whoever you deem as your trustee or your beneficiary. Right.
Right.
So then they have to divvy it up however you want it done. So you may not like a kid and don't want to use them as a beneficiary or whatever you want to do.
Don't tell them, because then you may be executing the trust sooner than you wanted to.
Yeah. So like you can give it to whoever you want, a neighbor, whatever you want to do with it.
That's where we've seen the ones where they give their stuff to their dog.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Not too smart, but kind of hard for the dog to complete their new trust. But that's a different
right. So then
now go to the probate idea. So you can help somebody with probate too.
I can.
So what does that look like?
So I draft the documents for them, and they go to court. They get their letters of administration. They get the house, and then I help them with the accounting, the inventory appraisals. I take care of everything from beginning to end as well.
Wow.
So it's a lot less expensive again, because an attorney has to file, and I think it's attorneys, but they have a chart that they have to follow, which has a certain percentage for the first couple 100,000 and so forth. So it can get pretty pricey, and it's based on the gross amount of your estate. So if you have an estate worth like $1 million, but you still owe about 500,000 because your house obviously isn't paid off, most people's aren't.
Right.
That the attorneys charge off the $1 million, not off the 500,000.
Wow.
So it can get pretty pricey. So for me to do it, it's going to be again a fraction of the cost.
So you save a lot of money and still get some good stuff done.
Exactly.
Now, my understanding, or my maybe not my understanding, but my observation on trusts is there's a whole lot of that's just boilerplate.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Because most attorneys that I talk to, they have a intake form that they start with.
Yes.
And then there might be some questions there. Now, if a trust gets complicated, do you then say, okay, well, something, you need to be talking to an attorney about this because there's A, B, and C that you may not be doing the right way?
I would if I needed it, yes.
Okay.
But again, I have a lot of experience, though. I've been doing this for over 20 years. So they just tell me what they want to do, where their assets go, and it's pretty much, I plug it in where I need to.
Okay, so, and the outcome is going to look kind of like what I would get from an attorney's office?
It's going to look exactly like the one exactly like the one you get from an attorney's office. I basically work with a lot of attorneys, and I contract out with them. and it's literally the same thing.
So what it happens in many instances is you go into the attorney, meet the attorney, they take down the notes, they get the intake form, they send it over to you, you fill it out, send it back to the attorney, and
yes,
okay,
it's literally the same exact packet that you get.
And
but don't tell anybody.
No, we only have 7 listeners. So
okay, good, we're good.
So then when you're talking about those kind of things, the biggest thing that I see or hear about, because I'm not doing it all the time, but I hear about, is that people don't fund their trust properly.
They don't.
Or they don't fund it at all.
They don't. And a lot of people who draft these trusts don't fund it for them, but I fund it because and funding just means you're putting the property, you're transferring the property. So let's say, Melinda Bravo, right now my house is Melinda Bravo, single woman, blah, blah, blah. Then when I do my trust, what I do, it's the trustee, Melinda Bravo, trust of Melinda Bravo, blah, blah, blah. So it's still in your name, and people get a little nervous about that. They're like, oh my God, you're changing my deed. Yeah, we're changing your deed, but it's still your name as trustee of your name trust, right?
Okay.
And that's funding it. If you don't do that very, very critical step, then your trust is not funded and it's invalid. And then you still got to go to probate.
Well, it's valid because now it's just a paperweight.
Exactly.
Right. So
yeah.
So now you've got a trust that you paid for, and you get to go to probate too.
Yes. And then you have to do a petition and a whole other drama to get that basically trust validated, and then you can sell it.
All because you didn't do it right in the first place.
Yes.
Or didn't get good guidance in the first place.
Yes.
Or you went to, I'm not going to say LegalZoom, but you went somewhere online and maybe you got the right paperwork done.
Yes.
But you just didn't know all the steps.
Exactly.
Right. So you got to know. And even at that point, my understanding is you've got to have somebody that's going to redraw the deed.
Yes.
So that the deed is then recorded properly.
Yes.
Right. So these are all steps that go into it. And my bet is if you're a great plumber or electrician or handyman, and I don't know how to do any of those things, I don't even know how to use a screwdriver, you may not be up on how to fund a trust. Just possibly. Right. Like I say, someone said, you can change a toilet. It's easy. I said, you're right. It's very easy. I call the handyman, I call the plumber, and they change the toilet. Not a big deal. Right. I don't know how to do those things. I don't even know how to fund a trust, but I know that it needs to be done.
Yes.
You need to call the right people. Melinda can help you with that.
Yes.
And just make that call. And from what she's telling us, it's not as expensive as going directly to the attorney, and the work looks exactly the same.
Just saying.
So just throw that out there for you.
In the universe.
If you want to get in touch with Melinda Bravo Justice and Advocacy Group, give me a call. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. I know how to get a hold of her, and I can put you in touch with her.